Hi, we're here today to talk about a little bit about resolutions. This is Debbie Peterson.
And Wendy Bright Fallon.
And we were just sitting here discussing resolutions.
Yeah, we have some clients who are doing really well, and we've got some communications from people who aren't doing so well.
Right.
They're kind of falling off. And we were talking about why we don't do well with resolutions sometimes.
Right. And I mean, part of it is that we set ourselves up. It's sort of
high expectations, right?
That's right.
The goals are really high.
Right. Yeah. January 1st, I'm going to be the best person in the world. It doesn't work that way. I think that's one of the biggest sabotages is that we make an ideal for ourselves, which is really where we want to be, but it's not realistic.
Well, it's not realistic, especially when we don't create patterns to set ourselves up for success. And we also add all these expectations onto ourselves about doing these extra things for ourselves, but we take nothing off our plate.
Right.
So we're like, we're going to do this, this, and this, and we don't say no to the other stuff. So how are we setting ourselves up for success that way?
Right. Yeah, and there's just as in eating, moderation is good. Choose a modest goal.
Well, we know that little successes built upon each other yields great success. If you do something every day or, smaller steps lead to big ones. And I know for me too, that I set these really high goals and it's scary.
Yeah.
It scares me.
Right.
And so then we become frozen. And then when we don't do something that will help us get to that goal, we're like, oh, we're a failure, or we're not good enough, or I can't do this. And, shame, guilt,
Right. All of those nasty things.
Yeah, all that nasty stuff comes up. And so if we reassess, like you're saying, those goals and try to chunk them down a little bit.
Right. Yeah. If you actually do break it down and say, okay, this is how it starts with this one first step. It's a small step. So maybe you want to cut back on sugar significantly. So instead of cutting out all sugar in your diet, maybe you were having a soda every day or two. So have one. And then maybe next week, cut out the other one.
Right. If you put 3 sugars in your coffee, move to 2.
Right. Exactly. Start with those small little steps. Those are doable, and it's a gradual process so that it actually becomes a habit as opposed to a deprivation.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, speaking of that, I think the other thing about our goals too and our resolutions are they a positive resolution? Are they said in a positive way, or are they actually said negatively? Like, how is it phrased? As simple as I want to lose 10 pounds is kind of ambiguous. Why do you want to lose 10 pounds? Like, what's the motivation for losing 10 pounds? Is it a health reason? And for that, what is that health reason? Is it because you want to do better, in your next marathon, or you want to run after the grandchildren, or do better at your sport,
or fit into those jeans?
It's more than number. What is that?
Right.
What is the feeling that you're looking for?
Right.
So maybe the goal isn't clear enough.
That's right. Yeah. So talk about what it is within that goal that you really want, because it's so vague otherwise. And the other thing is we don't have to wait till January 1st,
Right.
Just start today. Start today, or maybe tomorrow, but not tomorrow. Just start. You got to just start. We don't have to wait for these milestones. First it's January 1st, then it's Valentine's Day, then it's Easter, whatever it is. Don't wait for those times. If you need to make changes or you want to make changes, start right now. It's the best time to start.
I think the other thing that we do too is that we say we want to make these changes to ourselves, but we might not engage support from our peers and our family or professionals. And I think when we have our community on board with what we're trying to do, it makes the success much more fun.
Absolutely. One of the things that I've seen on Facebook, which I really like, is when people are making changes or doing something, they almost use it as a journal. Like day 1 of whatever. And I think I saw someone who quit smoking and they said, day 1, I went all day without smoking. I had this. And maybe some people will be like, who cares? Blah, blah, blah. But in a sense, you'll get a little bit of an audience. And if you do that, then you're accountable.
Right.
Yeah. People will be asking, how is it going? So putting yourself out there, and maybe if you don't want to do it on Facebook, maybe it's just a couple friends. Doing things like that will help you along. But also we can help you along.
We can help you along.
And we have podcasts that can help you along as well. We have a whole bunch of podcasts that we've recorded you may not know about that talk about all of these things.
That's right. Do You Hate Your Body is a fabulous one.
That's right.
There's a 3-part series on sugar. Right. So if sugar is one of your hurdles in the new year.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's especially a good one. We also have ones about the different kinds of diets, paleo, vegan, raw, if that's what you've resolved to do. We talk about fat, drinking more water, feeling better. So got a cold?
Yeah, right. It's cold season, right? We talk about sleep. We talk about some of the additives that are in our food. Maybe that's a low-hanging fruit for you that you can actually start reading the ingredients on your packages.
That's a good way to start. Yep. We also have discussed the 80-20 rule.
Ooh, that's a good one. I love that one.
Yeah, that's really
that keeps us from that perfection mantra, and that whole idea of failure. The 80-20 rule just helps us move along.
Yeah, it's a really good way to go, to live.
We're real people.
Yes, that's right.
Real life, real people.
Yep. We also talk about movement in one of our more recent ones.
And it's tough. We're in the middle of winter doing this podcast right now, and we're about to get a blizzard, and we need to move even in the darkest days of winter. It really makes us feel better. So
just get up off your seat. If your movement is taking a few laps around your house, it's better than sitting down.
Yeah. If you're watching a bunch of TV, do some jumping jacks and push-ups and squats.
Yep. Yeah. And our last podcast was our first interview that we had with a colleague of ours, Chris Verdi, and that was sort of on the same lines of movement because he's a muscle activation technique master. And that's a really great interview. So
it really is.
It's really interesting stuff. And we're going to continue to do interviews with people. And we'd love to hear your suggestions on other things you want to hear about in our podcast because we're recording them every other week.
So we look forward to hearing from you on Facebook.
And check us out. Subscribe to us.
Go to iTunes, Spotify, and we're on all the podcasts out there.
Yeah, any medium that you use for podcasts, we're there. So and share us.